Ho was not special. He knew this about himself and he was fine with it. He was 29 years old, average height, average face, and he worked as an engineer on the diplomatic ship called Horizon's Edge. His job was simple. He fixed things. Engines, pipes, electrical systems, air filters. When something broke, Ho made it work again. Nobody noticed him. Nobody remembered his name. That was exactly how he liked it. The ship had been stationed at the orbital platform above Prime for 6 months now. This was the of the Empire, one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the known galaxy. Their empire stretched across 3 galaxies. They had been traveling between stars when humans were still living in caves. And now, for the first time in history, they had invited humans to their world. It was supposed to be a great honor. Ambassador Park led the human delegation, working every day to build friendship between the 2 species. The future of humanity depended on this alliance. They had technology that could change everything, medicine that could cure any disease, ships that could cross galaxies in days instead of years, energy sources that never ran out. But Ho did not care about politics. He cared about keeping the ship running. He woke up early, ate breakfast alone, and spent his days in the lower levels where the machines hummed and groaned. He liked machines. They made sense. They did not lie or play games. When something was wrong, you could find the problem and fix it. People were not like that. His only real friend on the ship was Lieutenant Han Du, the head of security. Du was a big man with a loud laugh and a kind heart. They had known each other since training school back on Earth. Sometimes they ate dinner together and talked about home. Du missed his mother's cooking. Ho missed the rain. Life on the station was quiet and boring, which suited Ho perfectly, until the day he felt someone watching him. It happened during a diplomatic reception. Ho normally avoided these events, but a pipe had burst near the banquet hall and he had been called to fix it. He was on his knees, tools spread around him, when he felt a strange sensation, like a cold wind on the back of his neck. He looked up. Across the crowded room, past the ambassadors and officials and aliens of a dozen species, Queen of the Empire was staring directly at him. She was impossible to miss. 7 feet tall, with skin that glowed faint blue like moonlight on water. Her eyes were silver without pupils, and they seemed to see through everything. She wore robes that flowed like liquid metal, and a crown of living light floated above her head. She was beautiful in a way that was not human, beautiful like a storm or a star or an earthquake. And she was looking at him, not at the ambassadors trying to get her attention, not at the important people in expensive clothes, at him, a dirty engineer with grease on his hands. Ho quickly looked away. His heart was beating fast. He told himself it was nothing. Maybe she was looking at something behind him. Maybe he had imagined it. But it happened again and again. Every time Ho had to enter a public area, he would feel that cold sensation. He would look up, and there she would be, watching him. Sometimes she would be in the middle of a conversation with powerful people, but her silver eyes would slide away from them to find him in the crowd. Sometimes she would stop walking just to watch him pass. It made no sense. Ho was nobody. The Queen ruled trillions of beings across 3 galaxies. She had lived for 4,000 years. What could she possibly want with him? He went to Du. Hopping his friend would tell him he was being paranoid. Du did not tell him that. I noticed it too, Du said, his face serious. My security team has been tracking her movements. Her personal guards have been showing up wherever you work. Yesterday, 2 of them stood outside the engine room for 3 hours. Ho felt sick. Why, what did I do? Nothing as far as I can tell, but this is dangerous, Ho. They are not like us. We do not understand how they think. If you have attracted the attention of their queen, it could be good or very, very bad. Ho went to Ambassador Park next. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. She listened to his story without interrupting. I have heard rumors, she said finally. The Queen has shown unusual interest in humans since we arrived, but you specifically, That is new information. She leaned forward. I need you to be very careful. The value logic and control above all else. They do not show emotion. They do not act without reason. If the queen is watching you, she has a purpose. We just do not know what it is yet. What should I do? Ho asked. Stay away from her. Do not give her any reason to approach you. Let me handle this through diplomatic channels. So Ho did exactly that. He changed his work schedule, waking up before dawn and finishing before the public areas got busy. He took longer routes through the station, using maintenance tunnels that nobody else used. He stopped going to the common areas. He ate alone in his small room. For 2 weeks it worked. He did not see the queen. He did not feel those silver eyes on his back. He started to relax. Maybe it had all been a misunderstanding. Maybe she had forgotten about him. But he was wrong. They were patient. They had been traveling between stars for 1,000,000 years. They did not forget. They did not give up. And Queen was not used to being avoided. Ho was working late one night in the lower engine bay. It was his favorite place on the ship. Quiet, warm, full of the comfortable sound of machines doing their jobs. He was replacing a worn-out fuel filter, his hands busy with familiar work, his mind empty and peaceful. Then the doors sealed behind him with a heavy clang. The lights flickered, the temperature dropped, and Ho knew with absolute certainty that he was no longer alone. He turned slowly, his tool still in his hand. Queen stepped out of the shadows. Up close she was even more terrifying. Her skin glowed brighter, casting pale blue light on the metal walls. Her silver eyes reflected nothing. She moved without sound, like she was floating instead of walking. She stopped 3 feet away from him, close enough to touch. "Engineer," she said. Her voice was deep and strange, like thunder heard from far away. "You have been avoiding me." It was not a question. Ho's mouth was dry. His hands were shaking. He tried to speak, but no words came out. The queen tilted her head, studying him like he was a puzzle she wanted to solve. "I wish to know why." Ho could not move. His body felt frozen, like his blood had turned to ice. The queen stood before him, tall and terrible and beautiful, waiting for an answer he did not have. "Your Majesty," he managed to say. His voice came out weak and rough. He tried to bow, but his legs did not work properly. "I meant no disrespect. I did not think. I did not know." "You did not know what?" Her silver eyes never blinked, never looked away. "Speak clearly, human." Ho swallowed hard. His mind was racing. What could he say? The truth? That he was terrified, that he had been hiding from her like a mouse hiding from a cat. That seemed like a bad idea, but lying to someone who had lived 4,000 years seemed even worse. "I did not think someone like you would want anything from someone like me," he said finally. It was the truth, or at least part of it. The queen was silent for a long moment. The blue glow of her skin pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat made of light. Then she did something unexpected. She moved to the side and began walking in a slow circle around him. "Someone like me," she repeated. "Someone like you. Tell me, engineer, what do you think I am?" Ho turned his head to follow her movement, but she was behind him now. He could feel the cold radiating from her body. "You are the queen of the empire. You rule 3 galaxies. You have lived for thousands of years." Yes, all true. She came back into view on his other side. "And what are you?" "I am nobody, a maintenance worker. I fix engines." "Also true." She stopped in front of him again. "And yet here I am seeking you out. Does that not make you curious?" Curious was not the word Ho would have chosen. Terrified, confused, sick to his stomach, but curious, maybe a little. "Yes," he admitted. "Good." The queen gestured with one long, elegant hand. 2 chairs rose from the floor like they were growing from the metal itself. They had technology that looked like magic. "Sit. We will talk." It was not a request. Ho sat. The queen lowered herself into the other chair with perfect grace. Up close, Ho could see details he had missed before. Her face was smooth, without lines or marks. Her hands had 6 fingers each, long and thin. Her robes seemed to move on their own, shifting and flowing like living things. "I have watched your species since you first arrived at our station," she began. "Your ambassador Park is intelligent. Your soldiers are disciplined. Your scientists are eager to learn. But you, engineer, you are different." Ho shook his head. "I am not different. I am the most ordinary person on this ship." "No," the Queen leaned forward slightly. "You are the most human person on this ship." Ho did not understand. He waited for her to explain. "The others hide themselves," she continued. "Your ambassador smiles when she is angry. Your soldiers pretend they are not afraid. Your scientists act confident when they are confused. They wear masks. They show us what they think we want to see." She paused. "But you do not wear a mask. When you are happy, your whole body shows it. When you are frustrated, I can feel it from across the room. When you are at peace, working with your machines, you glow like a small sun." Ho felt his face getting hot. He was embarrassed, though he was not sure why. "I do not glow." "Not with light," the Queen agreed. "With something else. Something my people lost a very long time ago." She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. The blue-green curve of Prime filled the lower half of the view. "Do you know why the do not show emotion, engineer?" "I assumed it was your nature, your biology." "No," her voice was soft now, almost sad. "It was a choice we made 100,000 years ago, and we have regretted it ever since." Ho stood without thinking about it. He moved a few steps closer to her, drawn by something in her voice. "I do not understand." The Queen turned to face him. In the light from the stars, she looked almost human, almost vulnerable. "When my people were young, we were like you. We loved and hated and feared and hoped. We created beautiful art and terrible weapons. We built empires and burned them down. We were alive in ways that hurt and healed in equal measure." She paused. "And then we went to war." "War?" "The Great War. It lasted 10,000 years. Billions died. Worlds were destroyed. We came close to ending ourselves completely." Her silver eyes seemed to darken. "When it was finally over, our ancestors made a decision. They believed that emotion was the cause of all suffering. Love led to jealousy. Hope led to disappointment. Fear led to violence. So they found a way to remove it." Ho felt cold. "Remove it?" "Genetic engineering. Over many generations, we slowly cut away the parts of ourselves that felt, the parts that cared, the parts that burned." She looked down at her own hands. "We thought we were saving ourselves. We thought we were becoming perfect. We were wrong." The Queen walked back toward him. Each step was slow and deliberate. "Without emotion, there is no war, that is true, but there is also no art, no music, no love, no children who laugh or elders who tell stories." She stopped very close to him. "My people are dying, engineer, not from disease or violence. We are dying because we have forgotten how to want to live." Ho's heart was pounding. He could feel the cold coming off her skin, but underneath it he sensed something else, something reaching out. "Our birth rates have fallen for 10,000 years, she continued. "We create nothing new, we discover nothing new, we simply exist, waiting for an end we cannot feel sad about." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "And then we found you." "Humans?" "Yes, your tiny, fragile, beautiful species. You live such short lives, 80 years, 100 if you are lucky, a blink of an eye compared to us." She reached out and touched his face with fingers that felt like ice. "But in that blink, you feel more than we have felt in 100,000 years." Ho could not breathe. Her touch sent shivers through his whole body. He should have been afraid. He was afraid. But there was something else too, something like pity. "Your emotions radiate from you like heat from a star," the Queen said. "When you are near, we feel echoes, shadows of what we lost. Being close to you is like—" She searched for the right words. "Like remembering a dream I never had, like hearing a song I forgot I knew." She pulled her hand back. Ho gasped for air. That is why I have watched you, engineer. Not because you are special, because you are ordinary, because you feel everything without trying to hide it, because your simple human heart burns brighter than anything I have seen in 4,000 years of life. Ho's legs were shaking. He sat back down before he fell. What do you want from me? He asked. The Queen looked at him with those silver eyes. For the first time he thought he saw something in them, a flicker of light, a ghost of feeling. I want you to teach me, she said. I want you to help me remember how to feel. I want you to save my people before we fade away completely. Ho stared at her, an engineer who fixed engines, a nobody, and this ancient queen was asking him to save an empire. I do not know how, he said honestly. The Queen smiled. It was small and uncertain, like she was using muscles that had not moved in centuries. Neither do I, she admitted, but I think we can learn together. The next morning, Ho woke up wondering if it had all been a dream. He lay in his small bed, staring at the metal ceiling of his room, replaying every word the Queen had spoken. It seemed impossible. An ancient alien ruler, desperate to feel again, asking a simple engineer to help save her people. But it was not a dream. The proof was waiting outside his door. When Ho opened it to go to breakfast, he found a small box on the floor. Inside was a device he did not recognize. It was round and flat, made of the same liquid metal material as the Queen's robes. When he picked it up, it glowed softly, and a holographic message appeared in the air. When you are ready to talk, hold this and think of me. The message was in the Queen's voice. I will come to you. Ho put the device in his pocket and went a fine do. His friend was in the security office, drinking coffee and watching screens that showed different parts of the station. When Ho told him what had happened, Do's face went through several emotions. Surprise, concern, confusion, and then something like wonder. She wants you to teach her how to feel, Do repeated slowly. That is what she said. And you believe her? Ho thought about it. He remembered the Queen's voice, soft and almost broken. He remembered the flicker of something in her silver eyes. He remembered her smile, small and uncertain, like a child learning something new. Yes, he said, I believe her. Do leaned back in his chair. This is bigger than us, Ho. This is bigger than the whole diplomatic mission. If what she told you is true, the Empire is dying, and they think humans can save them. I know, Ho rubbed his face with his hands. I do not know what to do. We need to tell Ambassador Park. But when they went to find her, they discovered that she already knew, sort of. Park was in her office with several advisors, studying data on her screens. When Ho and Do entered, she waved them over with a tired expression. I was about to call for you, she said to Ho. Something is happening, something strange. She turned one of her screens so they could see it. It showed medical scans of citizens who had been working closely with the human delegation. Over the past 3 months, these have shown unusual brain activity, explained. Areas of their brains that were dormant are becoming active again. Our doctors did not know what it meant, but yesterday the medical council contacted us. They are concerned. Concerned about what? Do asked. They think we are doing something to their people, changing them somehow. Looked at Ho. And now you tell me the Queen came to you with a story about emotions and dying civilizations. I do not think these things are unrelated. Ho told her everything. The Queen's confession, her theory about human emotions, her request for help. Listened without interrupting, her sharp eyes never leaving his face. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. This explains a great deal, she said finally. They have been unusually eager to extend this diplomatic mission. They have offered us technology we did not even ask for. They have been pushing for more human visitors to come to their world. She shook her head slowly. They are not just interested in an alliance. They need us, truly need us. What do we do? Ho asked. Stood and walked to her window. The blue-green planet turned slowly below. "We must be very careful," she said. "This is an opportunity unlike anything in human history, but it is also dangerous. There are factions within the government who will not welcome this change, who will see human influence as contamination rather than salvation." "The Queen mentioned something like that," Ho said. "She said her counselors warned her against talking to humans." Counselor Myra nodded grimly. "She leads the isolationist faction. They believe the way is perfect and any change is corruption. If they learn what the Queen has told you, they will act." "Act how?" "I do not know, but I do not want to find out." Turn back to face him. "For now, say nothing to anyone. If the Queen contacts you again, speak with her. Learn what you can, but be careful, Ho. You are standing in the middle of something that could change the future of two species." Ho left the meeting feeling like he was carrying a weight too heavy for his shoulders. He was an engineer. He fixed broken machines. He was not equipped for politics and secrets and the fate of civilizations. He went to the observation deck to clear his head. It was usually empty at this hour, and he liked to watch the stars while he thought. But today, someone else was there. It was one of the scientists who worked with the human delegation. Her name was something Ho could not pronounce, so the humans called her Luna because of the moonlight glow of her skin. She was young only a few hundred years old. She often helped the human doctors with their research. Luna was standing at the window, but she was not looking at the stars. She was looking at her own hands, turning them over slowly like she had never seen them before. "Are you all right?" Ho asked. Luna looked up. Her silver eyes were wide in a way Ho had never seen on him before. "Something is happening to me," she said. Her voice was different too, less flat, less controlled. "I do not understand it." She held out her hands toward him. "When I am near humans, I feel warm inside, like there is a fire in my chest that I cannot explain." She took a step toward him. "And just now when you walked in, my heart beat faster, my breath changed. I wanted to smile. Why do I want to smile?" Ho did not know what to say. He stood there, watching this ancient alien discover feelings for what might be the first time in her long life. "It is called happiness," he said gently. "Or maybe excitement. It happens when you see something good, something you like." Luna pressed her hand to her chest. "It is frightening and wonderful both at the same time." She looked at him with those wide silver eyes. "Is this what being human feels like, all the time?" "Yes," Ho said, "all the time." Luna made a sound that might have been a laugh. "How do you survive it?" Ho thought about the question. He thought about all the times he had been sad or angry or afraid. All the times his heart had been broken or his hopes had been crushed. All the times he had wanted to give up. "We survive because of each other," he said. "When the feelings become too heavy to carry alone, we share them with people we trust, friends, family, people who care about us." He smiled at her. "You are not alone, Luna. If these feelings become too much, you can talk to me or any of the humans. We understand." Luna's eyes were shining. If she could cry, Ho thought she might be crying now. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for coming to our world. Thank you for waking us up." She turned and walked away, moving quickly like she needed to be alone. Ho watched her go, his heart full of something he could not name. Then he reached into his pocket and touched the device the Queen had given him. "I am ready to talk," he thought. And somewhere in the station, Queen smiled. Word spread faster than anyone expected. Not through official channels, but through whispers and rumors and the quiet conversations of people who were changing without understanding why. Luna was not the only experiencing new feelings. Across the station, and even down on Prime itself, reports began coming in. Scientists who worked closely with humans found themselves laughing at jokes they would not have understood before. Guards who stood near human quarters reported strange sensations in their chests. Artists who had not created anything new in centuries suddenly felt the urge to paint, to write, to compose music. Something was happening, something that could not be stopped. Ho met with Queen 3 more times in the weeks that followed. Each meeting was secret, held in different parts of the station where they would not be seen. The Queen asked him questions, endless questions. What did joy feel like? How did humans know when they loved someone? What made tears come out of their eyes? Why did they smile when they were nervous? Ho answered as best he could. He was not a poet or a philosopher. He could not describe emotions with beautiful words. But that was exactly what the Queen seemed to need. Simple answers, honest answers, real answers from an ordinary person who did not think too hard about feelings, who just lived them. "When I am scared," he told her during one meeting, "my stomach feels tight, like something is squeezing it. My hands get cold and my heart beats fast. Sometimes I want to run away. Sometimes I want to fight. But mostly I just want to be near someone who makes me feel safe." The Queen listened with complete attention. She asked him to describe the feeling again, and again, like she was trying to memorize it. "I think I felt fear once," she said slowly. "During the crisis on the outer colonies, ships were being destroyed, people were dying, I made decisions that would affect billions of lives." She paused. "There was a moment when my hands felt strange, unstable. I dismissed it as a physical malfunction, but now I wonder if it was the beginning of fear." "What happened to that feeling?" Ho asked. "I suppressed it. That is what we are taught to do. When something unusual happens in our bodies, we use meditation techniques to return to baseline." Her silver eyes met his. "I have been perfect baseline for 4,000 years. I am beginning to think that was a mistake." Ambassador Park called an emergency meeting with the senior human staff. She looked tired, like she had not been sleeping well. "The Council has demanded a formal investigation," she announced. "Counselor Myra has accused the human delegation of conducting unauthorized experiments on citizens." "That is ridiculous," Du said. "We are not doing anything to them. It is just happening." "I know that, you know that, but Myra is using this to build support for her faction." Pulled up a screen showing reports from across the Empire. "Look at this. Everywhere are reporting new experiences, feelings they cannot explain, dreams they have never had before. Some of them are frightened, some of them are angry, and Myra is telling them that humans are to blame." Ho felt cold. What does she want? "She wants to end the diplomatic mission, send all humans back to Earth, quarantine anyone who has had contact with us." His voice was grim. "She wants to pretend this never happened and go back to the way things were." "But that would kill them," Ho said. "The Queen told me. They are dying because they cannot feel. If they shut us out now, they will disappear within a few thousand years." Myra does not believe that, or she does not care, shook her head. "The isolationists think the old ways are worth preserving even if it means eventual extinction. They would rather die perfect than live imperfect." The meeting ended without a solution. Everyone agreed that the situation was dangerous. No one knew what to do about it. That night Ho could not sleep. He lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the Queen and Luna and all the who were waking up after 100,000 years of emptiness. He thought about Myra and her followers, who wanted to push everyone back into the cold darkness. He thought about Earth, so far away, where people laughed and cried and fought and loved without ever knowing how lucky they were. His door chimed. Someone was outside. Ho opened it to find Du, his face pale and serious. "You need to come with me," Du said. "Now." They went to the medical bay, where a small crowd of humans had gathered. In the center of the room, lying on a bed, was Luna. She was unconscious. Medical equipment surrounded her, displaying information that Ho could not read. Her skin, usually glowing soft blue, was flickering like a broken light. "What happened?" Ho pushed through the crowd. One of the human doctors answered. "We do not know exactly. She was found collapsed in her quarters. Her brain activity is off the charts. Areas that have been dormant for generations are all firing at once." The doctor looked frightened. It is like her mind is being rebuilt from the inside out. An medical officer stepped forward. His face was blank, but his voice was sharp. This is what comes from human contact. This is the contamination Counselor Myra warned us about. Your species is a disease. That is not true, Ho said. She is not sick, she is changing, she is becoming more than she was. She is dying. The officer moved toward Ho, and when she does, her death will be on human hands. Before anyone could respond, the medical equipment started beeping rapidly. Everyone turned to look at Luna. Her eyes were open. They were still silver, but now there was something in them. Depth, light, life. She sat up slowly, looking around at the crowd with an expression no had worn in 100,000 years. Wonder, pure, genuine wonder. I can feel, she whispered. I can feel everything. Then she started to cry, real tears rolling down her glowing cheeks. The room was silent. Humans and alike stared at her, not knowing what to do. And then, one by one, the other in the room started to react. One pressed her hand to her chest. Another made a sound that might have been a gasp. A third turned away, his shoulders shaking. Whatever had happened to Luna was happening to them too. The walls they had built around their hearts for 1,000 centuries were starting to crack. The medical officer stumbled backward, his blank face finally showing something. Fear. What have you done to us? He demanded, looking at Ho. Ho did not answer. He walked past the frightened officer, past the confused humans, and knelt beside Luna's bed. How do you feel? He asked softly. Luna looked at him. Tears were still streaming down her face, but she was smiling. A real smile, a human smile. I feel alive, she said. For the first time in 300 years, I feel truly alive. She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was still cold, but there was warmth beneath it now, a small fire growing stronger. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for bringing us back from the dead. Outside the medical bay, alarms began to sound. Somewhere in the station, Counselor Myra was making her move. The war for the soul of the Empire had begun. Counselor Myra moved faster than anyone expected. Within hours of Luna's awakening, she had called an emergency session of the High Council. Armed guards loyal to her faction surrounded the great chamber. The human delegation was summoned to attend, not as honored guests, but as accused criminals. Ambassador Park walked into the chamber with her head held high, but Ho could see the tension in her shoulders. Du and a small group of human security officers followed behind her. Ho was among them, though he did not know why. He was just an engineer. He should not have been there. But the Queen had asked for him specifically. The chamber was massive, built from white stone that seemed to glow with inner light. Hundreds of officials sat in tiered rows, their faces blank, their silver eyes watching. At the highest point sat Queen on her throne, dressed in robes of liquid gold instead of silver, a sign of formal authority, a sign that today was important. Counselor Myra stood in the center of the floor. She was tall even for an, with skin that glowed cold white instead of blue. Her voice echoed through the chamber like ice cracking. We are here because our civilization faces an existential threat, she began. For 100,000 years, they have prospered through logic, order, and emotional control. We have built an empire spanning 3 galaxies. We have achieved what no other species has achieved. We have become perfect. She turned to look at the human delegation. And then these creatures came to our world. Ho felt the weight of 1,000 silver eyes pressing down on him. He wanted to shrink, to disappear, to be anywhere else, but he forced himself to stand straight. In the months since their arrival, our people have been changing, Myra continued. Citizens are reporting strange sensations, uncontrolled impulses, irrational thoughts. Her voice grew sharper. One of our scientists nearly died because her brain was overwhelmed by these alien influences. This is not evolution. This is infection. She pointed at the humans. They have brought a disease to our world, a plague of emotion that threatens everything we have built. I call for the immediate expulsion of all humans from space. I call for the quarantine of every citizen who has had contact with them. And I call for a vote of no confidence in our Queen, who has allowed this contamination to spread unchecked. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Even among the emotionless, some things were shocking. Queen did not move, did not react. She sat on her throne like a statue carved from ice. The Queen has been compromised, Myra declared. She has had private meetings with a human. She pointed directly at Ho. With that one, she has allowed herself to be infected by their influence. She is no longer fit to rule. Ho felt sick. He had never wanted this. He had never asked for any of this. Ambassador stepped forward. May I speak in defense of the human delegation? Myra's cold eyes turned to her. You may speak, but nothing you say will change what we have all witnessed. Took a breath. What you call infection, we call awakening. What you call disease, we call life. They have achieved many great things, but you have also lost something precious. You have lost the ability to feel joy, to create art, to love your children. Her voice was strong and clear. Humanity is not infecting you. We are reminding you of what you used to be. Lies, Myra said flatly. Pretty words to hide your corruption. It is not corruption. The voice came from the side of the chamber. Everyone turned to look. Luna was standing there, supported by two others. She had left the medical bay against all advice. Her skin was still flickering, still unstable, but her eyes burned with something the council had not seen in. I have felt what they offer, Luna said. For 300 years I existed without purpose. I performed my duties. I followed the protocols. I was perfect, as you say, and I was empty. She stepped forward, her voice growing stronger. Then the humans came and I began to feel hope, fear, joy, wonder, things I had only read about in ancient texts, things I thought were myths. She walked toward the center of the chamber, toward Myra. You call this a disease, counselor, but I tell you, it is a cure for the sickness we have carried for 100,000 years, the sickness of being alive without truly living. Myra's face remained blank, but her voice was cold as void. The ramblings of an infected mind. She proves my point. She proves nothing except that change is possible, another voice said. This time it was a historian named Don who had spent centuries studying the time before emotions were removed. I have seen the records. I know what we were. We were artists and dreamers and lovers. We waged terrible wars, yes, but we also created wonders beyond imagination. He shook his head slowly. We gave that up because we were afraid, and what has it cost us? Our birth rates fall every century. Our young people see no reason to exist. We are the most powerful civilization in the known universe, and we are dying of emptiness. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Ho saw some of the officials shifting in their seats, looking at each other, questioning. Myra sensed she was losing control. She raised her hand and her guards stepped forward, weapons ready. Enough debate, she said. The council will vote. Those who stand with me stand for the preservation of everything we are. Those who stand against me stand for chaos and destruction. No. The word was quiet, but it cut through the chamber like a blade. Ho realized it had come from him. Every eye in the room turned to him. Myra's cold gaze fixed on him like a predator spotting prey. The human speaks, she said. How amusing. Ho's heart was pounding so hard he could barely think. His legs felt weak. His hands were shaking. Every instinct told him to stay quiet, to stay small, to let the important people handle this. But he thought of Luna, crying tears of joy because she could finally feel. He thought of the Queen, alone on her throne, trying to save her people. He thought of all the across 3 galaxies who were waking up, discovering what it meant to be alive. Someone had to speak for them. You call emotion weakness, he said. His voice was rough and unsteady, but it carried through the silent chamber. You say you removed it because it caused war and suffering, but that is not the whole truth. He stepped forward, away from the other humans. into the open space where Myra stood. The truth is, you were afraid, not afraid of war, afraid of loss, afraid of grief, afraid of loving something so much that losing it would destroy you. He looked around at the silver eyes watching him. You engineered away your feelings because feeling things hurts, and you thought that if you stopped feeling, you would stop hurting. Myra's expression did not change, but her voice was sharp. You know nothing of our history, human. Maybe not, but I know about fear. Ho felt something hot behind his eyes, tears. He did not try to hide them. Humans have fought wars too. We have suffered plagues and disasters and losses beyond counting. We have had every reason to give up, to stop caring, to become cold and empty like you. He turned to face the council directly. But we did not, because we learned something you forgot. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the price we pay for love. Grief is not weakness. Grief is the proof that something mattered. Fear is not destruction. Fear is what makes courage possible. His voice grew stronger. You cannot have joy without risking sorrow. You cannot have hope without risking disappointment. You cannot truly live without accepting that one day you will die. The chamber was utterly silent. We feel everything, Ho said, all the time, and it is hard. Sometimes it is unbearable, but we survive. Not because we are strong or perfect, because we share it. We carry each other through the darkness. We hold hands when we are scared. We cry together when we are sad. We celebrate together when we are happy. He looked up at Queen on her throne. That is what we can offer you. Not infection, not corruption. Connection. The chance to be part of something bigger than yourselves. The chance to feel again and to not be alone when you do. The tears were falling freely now. Ho did not care. Let them see. Let them see what being human really meant. Counselor Myra stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned away. Kill him, she said to her guards. The guards raised their weapons. Ho saw the pale blue light of energy building in the barrels. He knew he should be afraid. He knew he should run. But his legs would not move. His body had accepted what his mind refused to believe. This was where he died. Stop. The word hit like a physical force. The guards froze. The weapons lowered. Every head in the chamber turned upward. Queen was standing. Her robes of liquid gold flowed around her like fire. Her silver eyes were blazing with light that Ho had never seen before, and on her face was something that made the entire council gasp. Anger. Real, visible, undeniable anger. You dare, she said, her voice filling the chamber like thunder. You dare to order death in my presence, in my throne room, without my command. Counselor Myra stepped back. For the first time, there was uncertainty in her posture. My queen, this human has. This human has spoken truth. Descended from her throne, each step making the floor tremble slightly. The technology of the responded to their ruler's emotions, and right now, the queen was feeling a great deal. This human has shown more courage in the last 5 minutes than you have shown in your entire miserable existence. She walked past Myra without looking at her, straight to where Ho stood. She stopped in front of him and her expression changed. The anger softened. Something warmer took its place. You spoke for my people when they could not speak for themselves, she said quietly. You cried for us when we had forgotten how to cry. No one has ever done that for the before. Ho did not know what to say. He was still alive. He had not expected to still be alive. The queen turned to face the council. Her voice carried to every corner of the chamber. I have ruled this empire for 4,000 years. I have watched us build and conquer and achieve wonders that other species cannot imagine. I have also watched us wither. I have watched our art die. I have watched our music fade. I have watched our children stop being born because no one can remember why existence matters. She raised her hand. The chamber's walls shimmered and suddenly they were transparent, showing the view outside. The stars burned bright. The planet turned below, and between them thousands of ships hung in space, their lights blinking like fireflies. This is our empire, said. the greatest civilization in the known universe, and it is dying, not from war, not from plague, from emptiness, from the hollowness we created when we cut away our hearts. She pointed at the human delegation. These creatures live for less than a century. They are fragile and small and young, but they have something we lost. They have fire, and when they are near us, that fire spreads. Her voice cracked slightly. I have felt it. In the past weeks, I have remembered what it was like to hope, to want, to care. I had forgotten those feelings for so long I thought they were legends, but they are real, and they are possible again. The chamber was utterly silent. Every was staring at their queen with expressions that had not existed on their faces before. Confusion, wonder, hope. Counselor Myra would have us reject this gift, continued. She would have us push the humans away, seal ourselves in our cold perfection, and wait for the slow death that is coming. She calls this preservation. The queen's voice hardened. I call it cowardice. Myra stepped forward, desperation in her movements. My queen, you are not yourself. The human influence has corrupted your judgment. We must change, cut her off. We must adapt. We must accept that our ancestors' choice was a mistake, and we must find the courage to correct it. She looked around the chamber. I am not asking you to become human. I am asking you to become again. The we were before we forgot how to feel. The who created art and loved each other and believed life was worth living. From somewhere in the tiered rows, a sound emerged. It was rough and uncertain, like a machine starting up after centuries of disuse. Laughter. One of the older council members was laughing. Tears were streaming down his glowing face. He did not seem to know why, but he could not stop. And then another council member made a sound, and another. The chamber began to fill with noises that had not been heard there in 100,000 years. Crying, laughing, gasping, sounds of emotion breaking free from ancient chains. Myra watched in horror as her support crumbled. The guards she had counted on were lowering their weapons, staring at their own hands like strangers. The officials who had stood with her were pressing their hands to their chests, feeling hearts beat with purpose for the first time. What have you done? She whispered. I have set them free, said simply. The news spread across the empire at the speed of light. Within hours, messages were flooding in from every colony, every station, every ship. Everywhere were experiencing the same awakening. Parents hugged children. Friends embraced. Artists picked up tools they had not touched in centuries. It was not easy. Many were frightened by the flood of feeling. Some resisted, clinging to the cold comfort of emptiness. A few, like Myra, refused to change at all. But for most, it was like coming home to a house they had forgotten they lived in. The rooms were dusty and strange, but somewhere deep inside they recognized them. They belonged there. Ho watched it all happen from the observation deck of the station. He was exhausted, emotionally drained, still not quite believing he was alive. Du found him there, standing at the window, staring at the lights of the awakening empire. You did it, Du said. You actually did it. Ho shook his head. I just talked. The queen did the hard part. The themselves did the hardest part. Do not be humble. Du put a hand on his shoulder. I have known you since training school. You were always the quiet one, the one who stayed in the background. You fixed things and you never asked for credit. He squeezed Ho's shoulder. Today you stepped into the center of an alien court and told an empire they were wrong. That is not nothing. Ho did not know how to respond. He still felt like the same person he had always been. An engineer, a fixer of machines, nobody special. But maybe that was okay. Maybe the world did not need special people. Maybe it just needed ordinary people who were willing to stand up when it mattered. Ambassador found them an hour later. Her face was tired but glowing with something like triumph. The council has voted, she announced. Myra's faction has been dissolved. Their leaders are being sent to the outer colonies where they can live according to the old ways if they choose. The rest of the empire has agreed to the Queen's proposal. Which proposal? Du asked. smiled. They are calling it the Human Symbiosis Accord. Starting immediately, humans will be welcomed throughout space, not as diplomats or visitors, as partners, as friends, as teachers of feeling and students of wisdom. She looked at Ho. They specifically requested that you be named as the first human ambassador of emotional affairs. Ho almost laughed. That is not a real title. It is now, smile widened. The Queen invented it just for you. Later that night, after the celebrations and speeches and endless questions, Ho received a message on the device the Queen had given him. Come to the garden, please. He went. The station had a garden that they maintained for diplomatic functions. It was filled with plants from 100 worlds, glowing in blues and purples and colors that had no human names. Queen was waiting for him there. She looked different now. The formal robes were gone, replaced by something simpler. Her skin glowed softly, and there was warmth in her silver eyes. I wanted to thank you privately, she said. What you did in the council chamber, it was remarkable. Ho felt his face grow hot. I just said what I was feeling. Yes, she smiled. It was still uncertain, still new, but it was real. That is exactly what you did, and it changed everything. They stood in silence for a moment, surrounded by glowing flowers and the soft hum of alien insects. What happens now? Ho asked. The Queen looked up at the stars visible through the garden's dome. Now we learn, she said. Now we grow. Now we become something new, something neither of our peoples have ever been before. She turned back to him. It will be difficult. There will be resistance and fear and setbacks. But for the first time in 4,000 years, I believe it will be worth it. She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was cool, but there was warmth beneath it, a small fire growing stronger. Will you help us? She asked. Ho looked at this ancient queen, ruler of 3 galaxies, asking a simple engineer for help. He thought about everything that had happened, everything that was still to come. Yes, he said, I will. 1 year passed. Ho stood on the balcony of the human embassy on Prime, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors no Earth sunset had ever shown. Purple and gold and deep crimson, with streaks of silver where the orbital stations caught the dying light. It was beautiful in a way that still made his chest tight, even after seeing it hundreds of times. The embassy was new, built in the heart of the capital city as a symbol of the alliance between species. Humans lived there now, hundreds of them, working alongside partners to bridge the gap between their peoples. Teachers and artists and doctors and engineers, ordinary people doing extraordinary work. The world was changing. Not just the world, all of them. Across 3 galaxies, the ancient empire was waking up from its long sleep. It was messy and difficult and sometimes painful. There were still those who resisted, who clung to the old ways, who saw the return of emotion as corruption rather than salvation. But they were fewer every day. New music played in the streets of Prime, music with feeling, with passion, with soul. Children laughed in parks that had been silent for. Couples walked hand in hand, their glowing skin reflecting the warmth they felt inside. Artists created works that made people weep, and the weeping was not weakness. It was connection. It was being alive. And there were children being born, more than had been born in the last 10,000 years combined. Parents held their babies with wonder and terror and overwhelming love. They did not know how to be parents. They had to learn from humans, from books, from their own mistakes. But they were learning, and every new life was proof that their civilization was not dying anymore. Ho thought about all of this as he watched the sunset. He thought about how strange his life had become. A year ago, he had been an engineer who fixed pipes and hid from important people. Now he was ambassador of emotional affairs, a title that still made him want to laugh. He met with officials and scientists and educators. He gave speeches. He answered endless questions about human feelings and traditions and ways of connecting. He was still the same person inside. He still liked machines better than politics. He still felt uncomfortable at formal events. He still missed the simple days when his biggest worry was a broken fuel filter. But he would not trade this for anything. Not now. Not after seeing what humans and could build together. The door behind him opened. He did not need to turn around to know who it was. "You always come here at sunset," Queen said, joining him at the balcony railing. "It reminds me why I stay," Ho replied. "On Earth, sunsets are pretty, but here they feel like magic." Smiled. She did that easily now after a year of practice. Her smiles were still not quite human, but they were real, warm, full of feeling. "I have news," she said. "The Council has approved the Cultural Exchange Program. Starting next month, citizens will be able to live on Earth. Human families will be able to settle permanently on worlds." Ho turned to look at her. "That is incredible. I thought the isolationist remnants would block it for years." "They tried," eyes sparkled. "But something interesting happened. The citizens spoke out. They flooded the council with messages. They demanded the program. They organized and argued and protested." She laughed softly. "A year ago, the idea of citizens protesting anything would have been impossible. They did not care enough. Now they care so much that they cannot be silent." "That is the most human thing I have ever heard." "I know." His expression softened. "That is why I came to tell you personally. You started this. You and your tears in the council chamber. You taught us that caring was not weakness, and now an empire is fighting for what it believes in." Ho felt embarrassed. He looked back at the sunset, unable to meet her eyes. "I did not do anything special. I just talked." "You just talked," moved closer to him. "You stood before a hostile council that was ready to kill you, and you wept for our people. You showed them what they had lost. You showed them what they could have again." She reached out and turned his face toward hers. "That was not just talking. That was courage. That was compassion. That was love." The word hung between them. Love. Neither of them had said it before. They had spent countless hours together over the past year, talking and learning and growing. They had become friends, partners, something that had no word in either of their languages, but they had not said love. "The council asked me something else today," said quietly. "They asked if I had chosen a partner." Ho's heart beat faster. "What did you tell them?" "I told them that I had, but that he did not know it yet because I had not found the courage to ask." The sunset colors shifted, gold fading into deep purple. The first stars were appearing overhead. Somewhere in the city below, music was playing. "I am 4,000 years old," continued. "I have ruled an empire, ended wars, made decisions that affected trillions of lives. But standing here saying this to you is the hardest thing I have ever done." She took a breath. "You taught me that fear does not go away. You just learn to act despite it." She took both of his hands in hers. "Ho, engineer, ambassador, the most ordinary, extraordinary person I have ever known, will you stay with me, not as a diplomat or a teacher or a symbol of our alliance, as my partner, as my love?" Ho looked at her. This ancient queen, ruler of 3 galaxies, asking him to share her life. It was absurd, impossible, the kind of thing that only happened in stories. But it was also real as the tears in her silver eyes, as real as the trembling of her cold hands in his, as real as the fire in his own heart that he had been trying to ignore for months. "You never answered my question," he said softly. Blinked. "What question?" "Back in the engine room a year ago, you asked me why I avoided you. I never gave you a real answer." She waited, her eyes searching his face. "I avoided you because you scared me," he admitted. "You were ancient and powerful and impossibly beautiful. I was nobody, a guy who fixed machines. I could not understand what someone like you could possibly want with someone like me. And now—" Ho smiled. "Now I know you wanted what everyone wants, to feel something real, to find someone who sees you, not your title or your power or your crown, just you." He squeezed her hands. "I see you. I have seen you since that first night in the engine room. and I do not want to be anywhere else." Tears were falling now, real tears streaming down her glowing cheeks. She did not try to hide them, neither did he. "Is that a yes?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Yes." He pulled her into his arms. She was taller than him, and her skin was cool against his warmth, and holding her felt like holding a storm or a star or an earthquake. It felt like magic. It felt like coming home. They stood there for a long time, wrapped in each other, while the last light faded and the stars came out. Somewhere in the Empire, a child was being born. Somewhere else, a song was being written. Somewhere else, two strangers were meeting and feeling the first spark of connection. The universe was vast and cold and mostly empty. But in this small corner, on a balcony on an alien world, two people from different species held each other and proved that loneliness was not forever. That was the real gift humans had brought to the stars. Not technology or weapons or power. Just the simple, fragile, unbreakable truth that no one has to be alone. They were learning that now, learning to laugh and cry and love, learning to live. And Ho, an ordinary engineer who had never wanted to be special, had helped teach them. That was enough. That was everything. Below the balcony, the first fireworks of the celebration began to bloom against the night sky, colors and lights and sounds of joy. They were celebrating the announcement of the cultural exchange program, but they were really celebrating something bigger. They were celebrating the fact that they could celebrate at all. Lifted her head from Ho's shoulder to watch the display. "It is beautiful," she said. "Yes," Ho agreed, but he was not looking at the fireworks. He was looking at her, at the wonder in her ancient eyes, at the smile on her glowing face, at the tears still wet on her cheeks. Beautiful did not begin to cover it. "What happens now?" he asked, the same question he had asked a year ago in the garden after the council's vote. Thought about it, then she smiled. "Now we live," she said. "Together, whatever that means, however long it lasts, we live." Ho kissed her then, under the alien stars, surrounded by fireworks and music, and the sound of an empire learning to feel again. And for the first time in a very long time, everything felt exactly right.